What are some things you may not know are linked to severe autism? Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Pelto. I am the co-founder of Blue Life RX, and I have a ton of experience in autism, ADHD, and ADD, and ODD, and all umbrella conditions. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the things that you could do or may be affecting your child with autism who have symptoms of excessive stimming, of screaming all of a sudden, of deregulated states, of being a picky eater. So today I'm going to talk all things mycotoxins. So what are mycotoxins? Mycotoxins are, and I'm going to name 3 of them. There are many more, but mycotoxins are live toxins. So for today, I'm going to be chatting and sharing about 3 of them. So Candida, parasites, and mold. Now, there are very specific things to support each of these. So for the sake of the length of this video, I'm not going to be sharing all of the things, but I think it's fair to explain each one, what it does, how it impacts the body, and how we can kind of have an idea of the direction we want to move in. So the first one that I'm going to share about is parasites. Parasites seem to be all the rage right now in our world. Now, what are some of the symptoms that your child may be having if they have parasites? So oftentimes, parasites have receptor sites and are extremely stimulated during the full moon. The full moon impacts our tides and impacts our bodies of water. It impacts our receptor sites. And so if you notice that your child is waking very frequently, specifically through the full moon, sometimes around 3 and 4 o'clock seems to be the consensus of what parents are sharing with me. That is one of the areas that we may want to look at. Another symptom of parasites is deregulated state in the sense of being irritable and very oppositional, if I may say it that way. Yeah. So there's a lot of oppositional behavior that I notice. Now, interestingly enough, throughout the world, in most third world countries, they recommend doing quarterly parasite cleanses or recurrent parasite cleanses. And the truth is that we actually eat many of the same foods as these people eat. And that's how we generally get exposed to it. We are told, for example, to give our pets parasite cleanses, and we touch our pets and our children touch our pets. And so, so it's really important for us to kind of see, like, correlate, if we have to do this for our pets, why aren't we doing this for ourselves and our children? So parasites have a huge impact on our health and are very hard to test for. So sometimes the best way to test for them is just to actively treat them with nutrition or food or very mild protocols. And there's so many of them out there now. And that's something we definitely do cover within the Blue Life RX program that I run. If there are questions about that, it's going to be linked below. The second one that I want to talk about is actually Candida. Candida is prevalent in not just our children, but ourselves as adults. In the world that we live in, the Western American diet or standard American diet, SAD diet, really promotes our Candida to have a lot of food to eat, which means that although Candida is part of our body all the time, it has a time and a place within our bowels. It is something that when we think about the word eubiosis, which is a balanced gut, it does not mean that there is no Candida within it. It just means that the good bacteria is actually winning over, which is absolutely fantastic. So when we look at Candida, Candida can really, really create a lot of havoc. When Candida is present, we could have a lot of excessive itching. We could have deregulated states, feeling of having to rub ourselves on things. For kids, not adults. Well, maybe adults, we just don't do it. But when we have these yeast overgrowth, stimming could actually increase. We could have a lot of deregulation in our emotions. Our kids will show like screaming loudly. They will show, again, deregulation. What else will they show? Picky eating is very often linked to Candida. Why is that? So when you have fungi, bacterium, or parasites even that are being fed foods that they love, right? So foods like sugars or starches that convert, or simple carbs that convert to sugars, they actually become louder. And what I mean by louder is that within our bodies, they're able to call out specific cravings for us. So they make us want more of the same thing that feeds them. So if you have more candida within the body and within your bowels, it's going to send signals for very specific foods that it wants to eat. And so your children who don't know any better choose to eat the foods and become extremely picky and are searching for foods that are not supportive, such as anything that has sugar, salt, and fat combos. Those absolutely help to feed candida. Things like pastas that are very simple, and white rices, things that convert to sugar. And it basically looks like, if you were to look at the diabetic list of things to avoid, you would be looking at a very similar low glycemic protocol to cut off the food supply to candida. So candida, now we know what it does. We know the havoc that it plays. We know that it can show up in so many different ways and for so many different people. For kids, again, it could show up as rashes, but it could also not even show physically in any way. And yet they're very deregulated. And it does not hurt to do a rotation protocol to treat candida with food. Lastly, let's talk about mold. Mold is extremely prevalent in showing up in autism testing. That one is a little bit easier to test for. One of the things that people assume is that all mold is the same, and it's not. So there are many different types of mold. There are very dangerous molds that you do want to really be careful and cautious of. And if that's the mold that's testing, and you test your home and you test high in it, you really do have to get a professional in there to remove it. Different types of mold. Now, the truth about mold that I do like to share is that for the most part, if it is one of the more prevalent molds in the world where they don't cause as much issues, if our body is detoxifying and working optimally, our environment and terrain can actually take those exposures easily and just rid the body of them. And when we see them and our kids testing really high for them, we're actually witnessing a depletion in toxicity conversion. So we're also, our children's detox systems are not working optimally. And honestly, they're little kids. Our kids don't have a detox system like an adult. We tend to actually really get good at detoxification the older we get. And what I mean is micro exposures to natural toxins in the world build our detoxification system so that it works more optimally. Now, in the world that we live in today, we have over 80,000 new chemicals that we are being exposed to. These are actually absolutely not something that was there before. And so our toxicity symptoms, our toxic bucket, even as an adult, is extremely overloaded. And so when we see that, and we see that children are being born with, over 200 exposures to toxicity in their umbilical cords, we know that we are going into a world of toxicity for them. And then couple that with mold or another live mycotoxin that can easily get stuck within the body if it doesn't have an effective system that goes from basically our blood system to our liver. Then our liver has two phases and can convert harsh toxins, live toxins, and many toxins into substances that are more easily possible for the body to get rid of. It goes through the bowel system or the urinary system. Either way, those are the pathways. And so how can we support our bodies or our children's bodies through that? We want to make sure that we support for mold and things. And number one is removing the exposure, especially if it's a mold that's very harsh. And number two, it's actually just supporting an effective detoxification system. We do this with food. You don't have to have any crazy things. Some people like to do smoothies and juicing to speed things up. Some people like to do just recipes that are going to, again, just open up those pathways naturally and recalibrate chemistry. It is not rocket science, but it is definitely, there is a system to all of it and an order. And so in the Blue Life Autism program, which is my signature program in helping children build better brains for a better tomorrow, we focus heavily on all of these things. And if you have not heard, if you are interested in learning about it, make sure to check the link below. There is a webinar. It is an on-demand webinar that you can learn everything about the system and how detoxification and nutrition impact our kids and our child's brain development, and how we have more impact in our child's brain development, in our ability to recover lost milestones in severe autistic individuals, to help our high functioning autism individuals thrive with less mental health issues, with more clarity, so that they can bring their gifts to the world. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check it out below. I cannot wait to chat with you guys some more. Bye now.